I collapsed in the middle of the hospital hallway, the world tilting sideways as the fluorescent lights above smeared into white streaks. The cold tiles pressed against my cheek, and I remember trying to breathe but feeling like my lungs were full of stones. Footsteps rushed past me, voices echoing, but everything blurred until a warm hand wrapped around my wrist. I could barely lift my eyes, but I saw her kneeling beside me, steady, calm, unwavering. She whispered, "I'm right here. Stay with me. Don't go anywhere." In that moment, when the world felt like it was slipping away, her voice held me in place, kept me from falling into darkness. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unexpected bonds that save us, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Power of Kindness. Your support helps these heartfelt stories reach more people. My name is Ryan, and before the day I collapsed, I believed I had to carry everything alone. My father had passed just 3 months earlier, leaving behind medical bills, a small shop that was already failing, and a silence in our home that I couldn't fill. I tried to keep everything together, juggling the shop, my younger brother's school needs, and my own classes at university, until my body simply couldn't anymore. Exhaustion became my shadow. I would stay awake late into the night, convincing myself that only a little more effort, a little more struggle, would fix things. But instead, the pressure kept tightening like a rope around my ribs. That morning, the sunlight outside was warm and clear. Birds were perched on wires. People were laughing, buying tea, rushing to work. The world looked normal, but inside me, everything felt heavy. My legs trembled the moment I entered the hospital to pick up some documents. I told myself I was fine. I told myself I could push a little further. And then I was on the floor. The woman who held my wrist was a nurse named Naira. She couldn't have been more than 28, with calm brown eyes and hair pulled back in a loose braid. There was something quiet and steady about her, something that didn't falter even when I felt I was falling apart. She stayed with me until they lifted me onto a stretcher. I remembered her voice more than anything else. Not loud. Not desperate. Just present. Like a hand on a shoulder that says, "You're not alone." The doctors said I had collapsed due to severe exhaustion, dehydration, and stress. They spoke like it was a minor thing, something a few days of rest and proper meals could fix. But they didn't see what was behind it. They didn't see the grief that had hollowed me out. They didn't see how hard it was to keep going when the world expected me to be strong, but Naira saw. She came to my room later that afternoon, holding a cup of warm broth. I didn't ask her to stay, but she sat anyway, not too close, not too far. Just enough to let me know I was seen. With my voice cracked from dryness, I told her I was fine. She simply looked at me and said something I will never forget. Strong people are often the ones who never ask for help. But even strong foundations need support, Ryan. You don't have to hold everything alone. Her words broke something inside me. Not my strength. Just the walls around it. Over the next few days, I learned her story in quiet pieces. Her mother had been very ill years before, and Naira had been the one caring for her, juggling school and home the way I was juggling my responsibilities now. She understood the silent weight of being the backbone for others. She understood loneliness in crowded rooms. But unlike me, she learned to lean. She learned that letting others help isn't weakness. It's survival. She encouraged me to talk, not dramatically, not all at once. Just enough. Small truths. Fragments. And slowly, I let pieces of myself come forward. I told her about my father and how he had always dreamed of seeing our little shop become something bigger. I told her how I promised myself I would make that dream real. I told her about my brother, still too young to understand why the house felt so quiet now. And how I didn't know if I was enough to carry all of this. She listened. Really listened. As if every word I spoke mattered. I started to notice things I had forgotten to see. The sunlight slanting through the blinds. The laughter of the nurses during their break. The way the trees outside swayed gently in the afternoon breeze. Life hadn't stopped. I had just stopped looking at it. On my 4th day in the hospital, Naira took me to the courtyard garden. It was daytime, clear and warm, the sky a soft blue. Patients and staff walked quietly among the small stone paths. Flowers were planted in neat rows, marigolds, jasmine, and little bursts of lavender. She sat on a bench beside me, not asking me to speak, not filling the silence. Just sharing it with me. And in that silence, something inside me began to breathe again. She asked me what I wanted, not what I had to do, not what others needed from me, but what I wanted. I didn't know how to answer. I had forgotten I was a person, not just a responsibility. I had forgotten I had a heart, not just obligations. Over the next week, I rested. Really rested. I slept. I ate slowly. I read a little. I watched the sunlight shift across the walls. And every day, Naira checked on me. Not as a nurse. As someone who cared enough to stay. When I was discharged, my legs still felt weak, but I wasn't collapsing anymore. Naira walked me to the entrance of the hospital. The day was bright, the wind soft, the world open again. She pressed her hand to my wrist the same way she had the day I collapsed. A quiet reminder, don't disappear, she said gently. Your life is still waiting for you. I didn't know how to thank her. Gratitude felt too small. But I promised myself something, I would live differently. Not by grinding myself down until I broke, but by letting others in, by accepting that I deserved support too. I went back to the shop. I took things slow. I asked neighbors for advice. I let my brother help. I reached out to family we had grown distant from. The world didn't collapse because I wasn't holding all of it alone. In fact, it began to rebuild, and I returned to the hospital garden often. Sometimes alone. Sometimes with my brother. Sometimes with a cup of tea, just to sit and breathe. And many times, Naira would join me. Not with grand gestures, not with dramatic confessions. Just presence. Quiet, steady presence. She became a reminder that sometimes, the most life-changing kindness comes not from rescue, but from standing beside someone when they are at their weakest.